What's up, guys? This is another edition of Gags Goals Updates, our road to 220, I guess my road to 220. Today was a bench workout, max effort bench workout, and if you've been following along with the series, last couple of workouts have gone fairly well, but they've definitely been very challenging to say the least, and today was no exception. Definitely been, I'm at the point of training cycle where I've started to push really hard. Starting to kind of get up there in actual weights, the magnitude of the weights, the intensity is going up. I'm still hitting a fairly high amount of volume and frequency on my accessories and my raw work. So it's definitely been challenging to kind of recover. Oftentimes training on a calorie deficit, oftentimes training under a lot of fatigue. So there's a lot of moving parts in addition to running a business, making sure, kind of overseeing staff, overseeing the team, in-person teammates, distance teammates, and just everything that goes along with life outside of the gym. So it's definitely been very challenging, and it's been a struggle to kind of juggle all these things, but I'm definitely trying to do my best. And again, at the end of the day, for me, this is just kind of a way I want to continue to maintain as much strength as possible while I get a little bit leaner. That being said, if you follow our Instagram, at Gag Your Own Strength, I will be posting some transformation photos and stuff. So this time last year, I was just kind of looking back because I like to kind of reflect. I weighed about 290 pounds and about 242 pounds on this particular day. So definitely made a lot of progress in the past year. I have not made too much progress in the past several weeks. Kind of weight's been a little bit at a standstill, but looking at some photos, I'm definitely still getting leaner. So even though the scale hasn't moved, we're making some progress, making some ground, and the weights have been kind of going up. So on this particular day, I might have mentioned before on the squat workout, was dealing with a little bit of like a kind of middle trap, mid-back kind of issue, having some pain when I'm doing a kind of lateral flexion of my neck. I believe I might have pulled something doing some high rep raw conventional deadlifts on my deadlift workout. It's very possible. I didn't really feel it during the workout, but I woke up the next morning and it's been kind of bothering me the last couple of workouts. So I've been kind of doing some diligence to kind of just kind of help calm that area down, doing some quote-unquote soft tissue work for it, just kind of making sure my body is prepped, being aware of it. And then on this particular day, it definitely affected my squat workout. It was definitely hard to maintain upper back position in the hole, and it's definitely affected my bench workout. So what I kind of noticed, even during my raw warm-ups, when I got to 275, I planned on just doing singles. In my warm-ups, I ended up doing 275 for a double, because even on the first rep, 275, so the areas of the traps, kind of having some issues with this on this side, and my kind of elbow flared out kind of early, so I was kind of uneven on the way up. So I ended up having to just redid that rep, did a double. So I was kind of just aware of it, and it was a little bit in the back of my head. It didn't necessarily get to me mentally, but it was just something I was aware of because I wanted to make sure that, what's kind of funny is in the last couple of weeks I was actually having some issues on this left pec, which actually felt really good today. I was having some issues with my left hamstring. That's basically almost gone. So some things that have been kind of causing me issues have kind of gone away, and now I'm kind of dealing with this other thing. So part of training, even if you're training smart, even if you're trying to focus on recovery, you have to kind of balance optimizing and adaptation. So in order to adapt, you're going to have to put a lot of stress in your body. You're going to have to build up some fatigue. So it does this balancing act between trying to find how much you want to recover and how much fatigue you want to build up, because fatigue's going to ultimately mask your fitness. So I think we're at this point in the cycle. I'll probably start to focus on optimizing recovery a little bit for the next week or so, just so I can kind of feel fresh going into the next half of the training cycle. I definitely have a good amount of a good 8 or 9 weeks. I have to look at the math, but I have definitely a good 8 weeks of training left. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of not too fatigued going into the final 8 weeks of training, because obviously I want to get to the meet as well in one piece. So there's definitely a fine line between kind of pushing too hard and then kind of sandbagging your workouts. You want to find that kind of optimal training zone where you're kind of fluctuating between recovering and stressing your body and adapting. So I feel like I'm getting some good adaptations, but also I want to be mindful not to be too beat up going into the strength and peaking phases of the program. So just kind of going into the workout, and I'll kind of go into what's kind of to come in the next couple of weeks of training. So I did some raw warm-ups. Always like to warm up also in a slingshot just to save energy. So typically what I've been doing is just doing like 385 with the slingshot, actually to like a board, or using a lead FTS shoulder saver pad, just to kind of feel some weight. And then I'll usually jump right to 495, which, you know, again, all things considered, 495 is actually 5 pounds more than I did in the last competition. I benched 490 last competition at 242. And I did a 495 to a one board. I did 495 to a half board the following cycle, but I just wanted to kind of save my energy. My plan was to go a little bit heavier to a lower board on this particular day. It went pretty smooth. I felt like the control on the bottom was a lot better than last time. Last time I was kind of crashing onto the boards with not too much control. On this day, I thought I did a better job of letting the weight settle and just having more tension on my chest, or onto the board, I should say. So then I worked up to, then I went up to 530, which is 5 pounds more than I did the last time. So I did 525 to a one board the last shirted workout. So I just want to go up a tiny bit. Sometimes 5 pounds either direction, even on a heavier bench, can, you know, kind of throw you off. So things were okay. It actually came down really well. We did a 3-man handoff, and one of the, I think it might have been Benny, but not to call him out, but one of the guys was a little bit late on the 3-man handoff, so it kind of came out a little funky. That being said, I don't think that was why the set was kind of funky. I think it was more of my own doing. So once I kind of let the weight settle, it actually came down really good. I felt like I hit it in a good spot. But again, the side that the trap was bothering me, I flared way too early, and then it started to kind of dump backwards. So I didn't even try to fight it back in position. I just had the guys take it. So I had good pop off my chest. But again, the trap was giving me some issues. So the plan was to go up again to a 1.5 board to around 550, but I just elected to take the same weight again to a 1.5 board since I missed it. And I don't really like to go up after a miss, so instead of just trying to retake it, I just made it a little bit easier. And sometimes, you know, this is it's a kind of good compromise between shutting down the workout and still getting your work in. So I did a little bit better of a press. There might have been, I don't know if it was uneven lockout or it might have been some slight downward motion, but I was able to lock out 530 to a 1.5 board, which is still technically a record at that height this cycle. So again, I was planning to go up closer to 550, 555, but considering how my right side was feeling and just some of the technical issues I was having, I was happy with that. Also just having some difficulty kind of playing with my foot position a little bit, making sure that I'm getting optimal leg drive and optimal arch while keeping my butt on the bench. So these are some things that I'm kind of continue to work on. This cycle, besides also staying flat-footed, I'm also wearing a flat shoe, which is a little bit different than in the past. Just try so I could be a little bit lower to the ground. A lot of times I advocate actually wearing a heeled shoe for benching, but again, one of the things I mentioned, since I'm traveling, I'm trying to limit the amount of equipment I need to bring, so I don't have like 20 pairs of shoes and different gear. So I want to try to limit the amount of gear I actually need just to make traveling a little bit easier. And also, since I've lost some weight, my mobility is a little bit better, and I feel like the flat shoe is kind of, and with the flat shoe with the flat foot position, it's helping me keep really nice and grounded, pushing my knees out and that sort of thing. So just for all 3 lifts, bench, squat, and deadlift. So all in all, not really happy with the miss. It was my first miss of the cycle, but it happens, especially in equipped lifting, if you're off by like a little bit. So I was happy to come back and get it, and yeah, it was good. And this is also the first time I think Elvis was handing me off with heavy weights, and that worked out well. So I'm kind of excited to kind of continue to practice everything else. So ended off on a good note, even though I had some hiccups there. I'm definitely going to work on just feeling good. On the bench, I've been doing a lot more volume than my squat and my deadlift, and so one of the things, we just did a lot of down sets with the slingshot today. I'm using an older it's a little worn out, but I'm still getting some good pop out of it, but definitely not as much as when it was new. I'm using an older kind of Mad Dog slingshot just to get some more work in, and it's going to kind of mimic the same kind of groove and the same kind of feel as a bench shirt, since the material is going to stretch in the bottom, and it's going to give you a little bit of a boost out of off your chest, but it's going to allow you to kind of finish with your triceps and handle some heavier weight and handle some more volume. So I did 365 for a set of 5, 345 for a set of 7, and 315 for a set of 10. So I did 3 sets with the slingshot, full range, just working on my setup, working on just getting some extra work-ins. And then I did some feet up, close grip, board pressing afterwards. I did 2 sets of 8 reps at 275 with my feet up. And the main reason for the feet up bench, it's going to extend the range of motion a little bit. It's also going to kind of take the legs out of the equation, give the lower back a little bit of a break. So especially with something like a board press where I'm really trying to more feel my triceps engage, it's going to be really effective for that lockout. A lot of times the shirt kind of lets off at the last like kind of 3/4 of the way. And if you don't have strong triceps, you're not going to be able to kind of handle the weights that lock out. So it's really important you have strong triceps, especially in a shirt, because you're going to get a lot of support. Basically what the shirt does, it's resisting shoulder extension. So it's going to allow you, it's going to give you some artificial shoulder and pec strength here, okay? But your triceps are going to need to be strong enough to finish it. So, you know, it's not really all you. Like if you put the bench shirt on the bench, it's not going to be able to bench anything. So ultimately, the lifter is in the driver's seat. And if you're not strong enough to handle the shirt, you're not going to be as successful. You're not going to be able to touch your chest and finish any weight, no matter how powerful the shirt may be. So I did some tricep work, and then I did another set of 10 just at 225, just to get a little extra work in with a little rest. With more of a 2-board height, I started with a 3-board height with a 275. I'll do some tricep and some more bodybuilding type work throughout the week and also tomorrow. So I've been doing, sometimes on this day, I might even do a second mini workout of just upper back stuff. Because one of the things, it's just, again, it's hard to kind of get everything in, but sometimes I'll do like these quick 15, 20-minute workouts, just getting some accessory work in. Because again, oftentimes after the barbell work, I try to get my barbell work in somewhere between an hour and 15 minutes and an hour and a half. Sometimes on a squat day, it may take a little bit longer if we have, more lifters on the team training, and just the fact that I'm working up to like 700, 800 pounds on a squat workout, it might take a little bit longer, closer to like an hour and 45 minutes. For that training. But so sometimes I like to do the accessories either later in the day or on the next day, just to kind of get that work in. So kind of moving forward, like I said, one of the reasons why I'm kind of chronicling this a little bit, and I'm also letting you know about some of the kind of the kinks and bumps and bruises, is that oftentimes in a training cycle, again, when you're under fatigue, you got other stuff going on in your life, things are not going to be perfect 100% of the time. So it's just important to kind of have, again, focus on that balance between recovery and adaptation, like we said before. Just realize that if your job is starting to pick up, so like right now it's September, so if you're a teacher, things are probably going to be really stressful for the next month or so because you're getting back into your job. If maybe your kids are starting school, maybe it's their first time at school. So just kind of understand at certain times of the year that stress is going to naturally be higher than others. For us, a lot of times in the gym business, August is usually a little bit of a slower month. September and January pick up a little bit more. So these are just kind of things to consider, the natural kind of ebbs and flows when the holidays come around. Maybe you have more family stuff, so that maybe potentially can cause more stress, whether it's good or bad. Stress is stress. And it's just important to kind of realize, like, hey, maybe I need to pull back a little bit, or hey, I didn't really get a lot of sleep this week, so I'm going to maybe pull back a little bit on your training, and just kind of adjust as is. And it's okay to kind of, because the name of the game is consistency. Like I said before, this time last year I was 291 pounds. And if you look at from a bird's eye view, that's less than a pound a week, and there might be some weeks in there where I made zero progress. But if you kind of pull back and have a little bit of a larger picture, you can see like those small wins and those small gains really do add up over time. So if you just focus on having some good patience, we say aggressive patience. So you want to take action day to day, put in as much work as you can for the day, but not so much that you get burned out and you kind of lose that sustainability and you lose that consistency. It's really about the long haul. So do what you can to kind of keep moving forward. I do think that these doing some contests throughout the year can help light a little fire under you, and you can be a little bit more aggressive as you get closer to the contest. And then after the contest, you can maybe switch your goals and switch things up a little bit, and then kind of go back and forth. So that's basically what's to come. I'm definitely going to be focusing a little bit more on some dynamic work, so some work with chains and bands to kind of work on my acceleration. And also speed work is also a good way to kind of almost, when you're doing submaximal weights for a lot of sets, it's a good way to practice your technique. And it's a good way to kind of almost sneak a deload in without even kind of realizing it. So even though it is some people may argue that true dynamic work is not a true deload because it's a high nervous system demand. But when it's all said and done, like if you're doing like, say 10 sets of 2 at 60%, or 9 sets of 3 at 60% for like a bench or a squat or something like that, it's going to give your spine a little bit of a break and allow your nervous system to recover a little bit, give yourself a little bit of unloading of the spine, allow you to practice good technique. And when you're doing 10 sets of 2 versus like 2 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 10, since it's lower reps, you're not going to get the same like kind of muscle soreness and metabolite effect that you would for like actual hypertrophy training. So moving into the next phase, I won't be doing as much hypertrophy work. I have been, if you get kind of watching along, I have been doing a lot of, kind of 8 rep range, even on some of the barbell lifts. The barbell lifting will probably kind of start to shift toward the lower rep range, more like 6 reps and less, 3 to 6 reps, 3 to 5 rep range, even for the supplemental and secondary barbell lifts. Start to hit those a little bit heavier, and I won't probably be doing as much assistance work kind of going into the meet, but especially when it comes to something like a bench shirt, really hammering my triceps and even my biceps, because I want to make sure the bench shirt will still fit me properly as I lose weight. So if my arms kind of get smaller, I'm not going to get as much out of the bench shirt. Same thing kind of with the squat suit. If my legs kind of lose too much size, it's not going to kind of fit me the same. So luckily with the metal canvas, I do have some adjustable legs, so there is some play there. With the bench shirt, you can't really adjust it. So one of the things I'll be kind of continuing to add in is more hypertrophy for work for the arms, just to make sure the bench shirt fits. That's going to be key. But other than that, we'll start to kind of decrease the reps a little bit, have recovery as a little bit more of a premium as we get closer to the contest, and the intensity will continue to rise. So all in all, things are going well so far. I need to continue to drop a couple of pounds so I could obviously make weight and kind of be in striking distance of the water cut. I really appreciate you guys following along. Make sure you guys check out the links below if you want to support the program. There's lots of options you guys could to contribute, and if you like the videos, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.